Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another of our webinar Wednesdays hosted by California State University, Bakersfield through our SBDC program, also known as the Small Business Development Center. So good afternoon, I'm Kelly Bearden. I am the director of the center, and this is our 84th consecutive Wednesday of managing your small business beyond the pandemic webinar. So number 84, going back all the way till March 18th of last year, bringing you the latest in business news along with pandemic relief programs to help our small businesses survive. So what's up today? Today, October the 20th. I like to say the EIDL program, the EIDL program trucks on, it's trucking on. So it continues to go on, and we'll have an update on EIDL for you today. We're going to be talking about the new program that's coming out of the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, and that is going to be the California Venues Program. And that will be up to $250,000. It won't be out tomorrow. I need to change that date. It will be out starting the 29th of October. So we're going to give you 9 days, give you plenty of information here in 9 days. And a few other things that are going on is talking about the micro program. And this is really exciting. I had some research that showed that 85% of the temporarily closed businesses have returned, which is really, I think, pretty amazing and really a testament to the pandemic relief programs. And with that 85%, and this was actually a study done by Yelp Analytics and a lot of the data services that they provide through their particular app, and realizing when businesses were temporarily closed and when they temporarily opened or opened again permanently. So really 85% is a great number. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the coming weeks when we have a little bit more time. With holidays coming, we'll get into a lot of those segments in that particular business and what is coming back and what isn't coming back, and some of the new startups that are happening. But we're going to save that, just tease that for another day. So we'll briefly touch on the employee retention credit, the employee retention tax credit that we've talked about a lot. Briefly talk about PPP forgiveness. That'll be another day, but venues is our focus today, along with our special guest who will be introduced in just a little bit. And our guest, and also if any other pandemic relief questions, we'll take those at the end. And our poll today, we're going to save for next week. We're going to save our poll for next week because a lot of material to get through today, and we want to make sure we get through everything today. So on we go. First, we're going to give you a status and action of key stimulus programs that are available. We'll talk a little bit more about the EIDL program, as we have the major changes that came out last month. The EIDL program is open. You can apply for a new EIDL. You can apply for reconsideration if you were previously declined. And the increase can go all the way to $2 million per business. So the EIDL program is open. Also, the employee retention credit program is open. Whereas a lot of our programs we talk about, at least the federal side of things, are SBA programs from the Small Business Administration. The employee retention credit is a program of the Internal Revenue Service. So it's the IRS that is pretty much leading the efforts on this particular program. It is open and open for the fourth quarter of 2020. And it is open in 20 and 21. Right now, it officially ends on 12/31. We get a lot of the eligibility requirements and a lot of the issues that have been coming up next week on that. So we won't focus much on the ERC today. But we will talk about the California Venue Grants Program that is going to be opening on 10/29, a week from Friday. And we're going to look at the program, go to the website, look at a lot of the details there. Kind of get you ready and primed, because I really, there's some things I know about this program and there's some things I don't know. I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a typical pandemic relief program. Things I know, things I don't know, things I speculate on. That's all I can do in life. So we're going to look at the things I do know. I'll ponder some questions about what I don't know, and maybe he will have some more answers next week, a couple of days before that program opens. EIDL Targeted Advance, our EIDL supplemental programs are both open. The California Relief Grant Program is now closed to new applications. But as I think I reported last week, in working with the contractor, Lindustry, on that particular program, they had mentioned that they had tentatively approved literally tens of thousands of small businesses that have not responded to emails. So if you applied anytime going back all the way back to December 30th of 2020 for the California Relief Grant Program, remember that's the program, depending on the size of your revenues, where you could earn between $5,000, $15,000, and $25,000. There was some work that needed to be done after you applied and were approved. You did need to apply before the deadline, and Lindustry has been approving cases, and they think they're going to be doing them up until the middle part of December. So if you applied and didn't receive a California relief grant, there's a possibility it could be in an email, it could be in your alternative email, it could be in your clutter, it could be in your spam, it could be in your junk, it could be in your partner's junk. So it could be in a lot of different places depending on how and where you applied for the California Relief Grant Program. But please check the email and check those of your business partners and associates and employees, or whatever email you used for that. PPP forgiveness remains open. We looked at some of the statistics last week with our 4 poll questions last week, and saw that a good number of you are getting through the PPP forgiveness process. When we do our deep dive with no guest speaker in November, we're gonna get into a detailed appellate process, at least a little bit more than we have in the past, because in talking with some SBA officials, there are so many unique situations that are occurring in PPP forgiveness and with the EIDL loans with regards to reconsiderations. And a lot of these coming up now are coming up because of fraud issues that happened early in the program last year. So if there are discrepancies, if there's a number that you have transposed, if there are a variety of other factors that could come up, that could explain why you had a problem with your PPP forgiveness. It could be issues with your lender. There could be a lot of things. So anyway, we'll do a deeper dive in that coming up. So let's chat a little bit on the EIDL program. And the EIDL program, which at least is what we refer to it as, is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And this particular program, as you know, actually went up on September 8th of this year from $500,000 to $2 million. So the good news is, if you are a rather significant borrower, you could try to increase your EIDL loan to $2 million. Now, the issues on getting a larger EIDL are, number one, it's going to depend on your business size and that you really have had a use for $2 million. And those loans are going to be, scrutinized and underwritten, much like a larger SBA loan is right now. And there are more requirements that we've looked at in the past regarding the security and collateral. You need a higher credit score and some of the other issues that come up with getting a larger size EIDL. So we also know about the deferment period and the deferment payment period. You have 2 years after the origin of that particular loan. So when you sign your loan docs, recall again that the payment is deferred, but the interest accruing on that loan is occurring at 3.75% annually, or 2.75 if you're a nonprofit. We went through the 30-day exclusionary window that we talked about that ended on October 8th, so we won't mention much on that today. As I get a little jumpy here with my screen. Okay, a lot jumpy. We also know that really the key feature of this is that, or one of the key features is that the eligible uses of EIDL funds has been greatly expanded. And now even could include commercial debt payments, federal debt, not prepayments, but making your monthly obligations on, like, say, an SBA loan. It could be also used for normal operating expenses and working capital, like was the norm for these types of loans. Remember, the EIDL loan program went through a transformation last month from being a actual emergency loan program to now a recovery program. So in helping businesses recover, helps them set up for longer term success, and maybe even adds to that 85% success ratio of businesses that have come back from closures. So also the online process is still there, and there are a lot of different situations that they use. So if you're new to applying for an EIDL, what you would want to do is to visit the sba.gov/EIDL to learn about the eligibility and application requirements. Really, the key is when you do your initial application, and we've ran into so many problems with this, is to really don't double check it, but triple check it, quadruple check it. Check it until you haven't checked it anymore. And the reason is because little simple errors are really creating large problems and are resulting in borrowers not being funded. So make sure your addresses jive between your tax returns and what is in your EIDL portal. Oftentimes you might have a business address and a physical address and a home address. Make sure that those all actually make sense and actually jive. If you're denied, what you're going to be doing is going through the reconsideration process. So we'll talk about that briefly. So here are some other links that are going to be in the chat for you. Our producer, Maureen Busher-Dang, is behind the scenes working with you, and she might even jump in and help you out later with some questions. We'll see. But actually, there are some links that she's putting in the chat to help you with the EIDL process. There's a customer service center that has been helpful for a great number of our particular clients as we continue to work with this. And one other thing is I didn't get an opportunity to create the slide that I wanted to, but really there's a great resource. There is an outstanding resource on Fridays at 11 o'clock through our SBA Fresno district of the SBA. And it is an EIDL only webinar. And, you know, it's really a great resource. If you're having a problem, please check out that as well. Friday at 11, if you Google or go to the website of the Fresno district office that covers all of Central California of the SBA, you can find more information there. So just a few things on the EIDL changes that happened as we move away from the one-page fact sheet. The main one here is that we don't know what's happening with the infrastructure bill, and it could take about $30 billion in EIDL and EIDL advance. The good news is the information that I am getting is that EIDL funds are being used at a smaller pace than I had actually projected myself when it went to $2 million. So people have time to get in and have time to use the EIDL process and to use EIDL as a really great recovery tool moving forward for 30 years at 3.75%. There's the information for reconsideration. If you have been denied, please do not fill out another application. That'll confuse things worse, and it will lengthen the time that it takes for you to hopefully get a resolution here. You can email the SBA at COVID EIDL increase request at sba.gov. You can log into your portal also, and there is the appropriate website. Well, a lot of the things that we're seeing are still issues with the 4506T form, which is the transcripts of your tax returns that are requested from SBA. There could be a timing issue in getting those from the Internal Revenue Service. There's a pandemic going on still, and so it could take time that way. We have in the past mentioned some possible remedies for that, but if that is holding you up, or you think that could be holding you up, SBA really needs those transcripts in order to make an approval in your particular loan. So additional funds, kind of mentioned that. EIDL by the numbers, you know, the last I have seen have been at the end of September. of which about 270 billion was done in EIDLs. But let's move on to the California Venues Grant Program. And let me first tell you what I don't know. I don't know yet, and I might by next week, is if this is going to be a first come, first serve program. Some programs are, some programs aren't. My second question is going to be, I don't know how long $150 million will last. When we got into the federal side of the shuttered venue operators grants, you know, they went through about $10 billion, of which over $1 billion of that was in California. And we do know that the SBOG recipients are welcome, but will they actually be given, more or less, will actually new applicants that didn't receive an SBOG be given initial considerations? I don't know. And also we saw with some of the California Relief Grant early on when the funds were limited before the California legislature granted more funds, we saw that there were some smaller requests being made to get more borrowers and get more money into individuals. So if that is continuing to be a question, could a smaller loan request of 250,000 get priority? You know, so many questions, you know, maybe I'll have the answers next week. But in the meantime, let's go in with what we do know. And this is courtesy of the website for the California venuesgrant.com program. And here's what we do know is that it is opening next week. The program is funded and administered by the state of California through Cal-OSBA, which of course, as you know, is the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. So here's kind of some of the process and some of the guidelines that it is, overall, it is a more welcoming program. One thing we learned about the SBOG program for venues is that it was really one of the more complicated grants SBA had ever done. I'm using their language on that. And also, there were some reasons that would create a number of venues not to be eligible for it that are now eligible for the California Venues program. So there will be application guides coming in various languages. Here's 18 different languages that will be coming soon. And I guess at our SBDC in beautiful downtown Bakersfield, that we cover about 6 of these languages. And 7, you know, if I could get my son to translate Mandarin for me. So let's call it 6.5. So there'll be guides though, where they won't need me to do that because these are application guides are coming soon for various languages. There's an application that's different for for-profit and nonprofit. And here's some of the key information that you're going to get off of that. Is initially you're going to have to certify and completely self-certify the truthfulness and accuracy of the information you provide. And that's pretty much been the norm with a lot of pandemic relief programs. So keep that in mind. Also, we have business financials. So you're going to need to provide in a PDF format all pages of your 19 and 20 state and federal program or tax returns. Another thing, a government issued ID, and I know this created a lot of heartache for people. Initially, you know, when we were talking about scams going on out there, but there is going to be a requirement, as there was for the California Relief Grant and other programs, a driver's license, passport that is actually valid at this time. Expired IDs are not accepted. Now, where it gets a little bit more difficult is you're going to have to provide interim financial statements because a lot of businesses don't do that. So, but these interim financial statements are covered in periods in 19 and 20 where you might be able to have that information available. So they're going to want Q2, Q3, Q4, and generally by interim financial statements, they're talking about profit and loss statements and usually a balance sheet. You're going to have to show that you are legally authorized to do business in the state of California and that your business is either registered with the Secretary of State, either through incorporation, LLC, or other organization, or locally you've done a fictitious name registration, what we also call a fictitious business statement, and also perhaps if you don't have that, a business license. Nonprofits will need to show their tax exemption letter. And also, you'll see there that you'll need to show that you're legally doing business in the state of California as of June 1st, 2019. So the grant awards go up to $250,000, or actually 20% of an applicant's gross revenue. So I did have a slide that's probably the next one in the queue that would show essentially that that would be a revenue base of 1.25 million, or 1,250,000 in sales or earned revenue in order to qualify for the full 250,000. So you figure if you had half of that, you would receive about half of that. So eligibility, the eligibility is much more broader than the SVOG program. So for businesses that were deemed, that were venues, they were truly venues, but they were deemed ineligible for shuttered venues operators grant, it's a lot more flexible. So this means there'll be more people applying, which gets back to my one question is, I don't know how long $150 million is going to last. If it was me, I would put mine in the day it opened. And there's, a number of requirements that you just saw that you're going to have to gather. And now you're still 9 days out. So that's sufficient time to get pulling that information together if you think that this would be a good resource and really help you with your particular venue. So let's see, here's a lot of the eligibility. In the absence of running out of time, I'm not going to go through a lot of the eligibility. Let's go to the things that are ineligible. And as we usually do with our email blast for those that sign up for our webinar, we will share all of these links with you toward the weekend, sometimes the weekend, including a recording of today's webinar and some other information. And you have the website that's in the chat box right now. So you could go there at any time and actually see the eligible businesses. But believe me, much more comprehensive, much more broad eligibility for venues than there has been in the SVOG. So your required documents, there they are right there at the bottom of this particular website, or this website. And there's the call center. So there's your information and call center hours if you need more help. I do not know if the call center is being opened and being manned yet. I would probably imagine they are, but it's really something that is going to really come into play once the program opens and when you have questions. If you want to get it in on that initial date of October the 29th, I would contact the call center if you have any particular questions before that. Okay, let's move along. Sorry for the quick pace today, but probably used to it by now. And do a new share here and get back to kind of what the awards are going to look like if you have a smaller revenue. So let's go down to 800,000. If you have 800,000 in annual revenues that are actually gross earned revenues, it's going to yield a grant of about 160,000. And you see the smaller amounts. So it's really, I think, welcome in participation from these smaller venues. I think that in the desire to do more of these and to help more venues and even smaller ones, our smallest and neediest venues, that I think they'll get good considerations if you have one of these smaller loan amounts. So there's our employee retention tax credit. We'll be in that big time next week. Won't really go into much more detail now. And there's our particular program. Some of the other EIDL issues, let's not jump into that now because I want to leave plenty of time for our special guest speaker today, and that is Megan Hodapp. She's the manager of the small business. She's the actually manager of the Small Business Finance Center for the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank. Megan would appreciate it. The reason I stuttered on the first part of her introduction is I was looking to make sure there was a capital I in the abbreviation for iBank, for the acronym. But prior, she had worked as a loan officer for 3 years and assisted many small businesses accessing capital. They currently administer a number of loan programs, the California Small Business Loan Guarantee Program, the California Small Business Disaster Relief Guarantee Program, the Farm Loan, Jumpstart Loan Program, all programs that I'm interested in learning more about. She partners with the state's 7 financial development corporations, which I believe our nearest one is actually Valley Small Business Development Corporation in Fresno. Been serving with the state in a variety of different jobs at the Office of Small Business Advocate and GoBiz. Megan, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Great to have you here today. Looking forward to hearing more about your programs. Welcome.
Thank you. Does that mean it's my time to go?
You are on you are on the central stage, as we like to say.
Let me
take it away. See, I
screen.
usually say take it away, which is a great cue. But I missed that one today.
All right. Okay. I am currently sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Beautifully.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Kelly, for having me out to talk today. I always enjoy an opportunity to speak on webinars and kind of get in front of small businesses and small business owners. So this is a great opportunity. So like you said, I am the Small Business Finance Center Program Manager. So we are a unit within iBank, which is the California Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank. So iBank as a whole is the state's only general purpose financing authority. We provide financial assistance to support infrastructure and economic development throughout the state of California. So iBank itself was created in 1994. We finance public infrastructure, private development. We create jobs. We help work with the economy. We improve the quality of life for people in California. We leverage state and federal funds. We focus on green financing. We work on infrastructure projects. There's a number of different things that iBank as a whole does. So within iBank, like I said, I am the manager of the Small Business Finance Center. So the Small Business Finance Center supports small businesses throughout the state through a variety of different programs, including our Small Business Loan Guarantee Program, our Disaster Relief Loan Guarantee Program, and our COVID-19 microloan guarantees. Those are the 3 programs I am going to focus on today. Additionally, we have a Jumpstart Loan Program, which is a very small microloan program. The maximum loan is $10,000, and that goes to low wealth entrepreneurs in low wealth areas of the state. We also have a farm loan program where we work with USDA, and they do a 90% guarantee on a farm loan to small farmers throughout the state. So we have a couple of FDCs that facilitate those programs as well. But like I said, I'm going to focus on the three main programs of ours. So what is a loan guarantee? I say loan guarantee and credit enhancement as a part of my general language, having worked in this world for 7+ years now. But essentially what a loan guarantee or a credit enhancement is we provide at iBank up to an 80% guarantee on a bank loan. So a bank will make a loan to a small business and we provide up to an 80% guarantee, meaning that if for whatever reason that small business defaults on that loan, they can't make the payments, they go out of business, whatever happens, the bank can then turn around and come to us and file a claim and be repaid up to 80% of the outstanding principal on that loan. So what that does is it helps mitigate some of the risk that lenders find in lending to small businesses. As small business owners, I'm sure you're all well aware of the challenges that businesses face in accessing capital. Lenders often find it risky to lend to small businesses, whether they don't have the years of financials necessary or the personal guarantees or whatever the issue may be as to why the lender isn't as comfortable making the loan to that small business. This kind of just gives them one more resource to have in their pocket to provide capital to small businesses. So essentially there are 4 quick steps as a business owner on how the loan guarantee process works and how you would access our program. The first is when a small business is in need of a loan, they would contact either one of our 7 financial development corporations or a financial institution. On our website, we have a list of currently certified lenders, so they have signed up for our program for this current fiscal year. We can teach any lender how to become a user of our program, and the certification itself is pretty simple. So if you happen to know you already have a relationship with a bank and they want to do a loan for you with the guarantee, but they don't participate in the program, we can get them signed up pretty quickly. This is a listing of our 7 FDCs. They are located throughout the state of California. Each of them is kind of serves their primary region, but none of them are geographically restricted. So you technically could go to any of them for assistance anywhere in the state and they would be able to help you. I believe the closest one to you guys would be Valley Small Business Development Corporation, which is located in Fresno. Our FTCs are kind of our boots on the ground. They're our middlemen. They work directly with the lenders, and then they turn around and work directly with us as far as getting the loan guarantees on the loans, getting money to businesses and that type of thing. So you would reach out to one of the FTCs if you don't already have a lender in mind, and they can oftentimes assist a business in finding a lender that's the best fit for them. So once you reach out to the FDC, they will in turn reach out to a lender that's best suited for the type of loan that you're looking for, or vice versa. If you reach out to the lender first, the financial institution can then get in contact with one of the FDCs, and we can help facilitate that through iBank. The third step is that the financial institution will make the loan. So they will get the approval from iBank to go ahead and make the loan for the purpose, and then we will put a guarantee on it. And then the fourth step is that iBank sets aside a guarantee reserve for that guarantee loan. So meaning that we encumber a certain amount of money so that if that loan goes bad, like I said, the lender can then file a claim and be repaid up to 80% of the outstanding principal on that loan. So it's a pretty simple process. Like I said, the first step is either reaching out directly to a lender or getting in contact with one of the FDCs. Another option that we oftentimes suggest is getting in contact with a small business development center. They're always great partners for us, and they provide technical assistance and can help businesses get prepared for financing, as well as kind of have an idea of different lenders in the area that are making different types of loans. So there are a few program requirements for SBLGP and our disaster relief program. So at iBank and the Small Business Finance Center, we consider any business with 750 or less employees to be a small business. I know that definition kind of varies by agency, but with us, it's 750 or less employees. For SBLGP, the maximum loan amount that we can support is $20 million. However, our maximum guarantee is $2.5 million or 80%, whichever is lower. So if you get a $5 million loan, you wouldn't get an 80% guarantee. You would get the $2.5 million max. If you got a $100,000 loan, you would get the 80% guarantee on that. Eligible proceeds for Small Business Loan Guarantee Program are startup costs, construction, inventory, working capital, business expansion, agriculture, lines of credit, a whole lot more. There's very few things that are not eligible use of proceeds for the loan guarantee program. For disaster relief loan guarantee program, so this program was actually created back, but was refunded back in 2017 to help deal with the wildfires. And it can support any declared disaster. So as long as the disaster has been declared in that area, it would be eligible, a business would be eligible to get a disaster relief loan guarantee product. The maximum loan amount for that is 1.25 million, and the maximum guarantee amount that we can support is 1 million. With this, the eligible use of proceeds has to be business continuance or to cure an economic injury as a result of a declared disaster, or a physical injury, obviously, if there's a fire and a business loses their building, that type of thing. And COVID is included in this. Another important thing to note that we just discovered, the drought was actually a declared disaster. So that is also an eligible, this program would work for businesses that are suffering from the drought. And then this is just some information about how our program has performed in previous years. So for fiscal year 1920, the loan guarantee program guaranteed 470 loans for over $223 million in guarantees. And then I think it's important to kind of break down the ethnicity and the gender of our guarantee recipients, because we're definitely trying to put a focus on assisting underserved businesses throughout the state. So you can see kind of the breakdown of that here. And then for our COVID-19 microloan guarantees. So in April of 2020, we received a $50 million allocation from the governor to facilitate a COVID-19 microloan guarantee program. So this is essentially very similar to our disaster relief loan guarantee program. We just came up with a process to approve these quicker and get money into borrowers' hands quicker than usual. So in that program, we have guaranteed 1,838 guarantees so far. We've approved 1,838 guarantees so far, which is over $80.8 million in loans and equates to $76.5 million in guarantees. Because of these guarantees, we have either created or retained 9,128 jobs as reported by business owners. In this program, the average loan size is about $44,000, and 86% of the borrowers are either female, minority owned, or located in a low to moderate income area. So as I said, we're definitely focused on trying to reach out to underserved businesses and help them access the capital that they need. iBank and the Small Business Finance Center also helped to create the California Rebuilding Fund, which is another way for businesses to access capital to help them recover from the pandemic. So you can apply at caloanfund.org. There are 12 CDFIs that are participating, and more than 80% of the loans from this program are to businesses from low to moderate income communities, or also female owners or minority owners. So essentially this program helps support CDFIs who assist businesses that are often left behind by traditional banking. So they make the smaller loans, they help underserved businesses, things like that. And then coming up for the Small Business Finance Center, the State Small Business Credit Initiative is a program that was created by the federal government back in 2010, 2011. And the state of California got a $168 million allocation back then that was split between the Treasurer's Office and iBank to facilitate our credit enhancement programs. So our Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. And then the Treasurer's Office has a California Capital Access Program and a Collateral Support Program that also serve as credit enhancement to help businesses get access to capital. So they are reauthorizing this program, and we will be giving an initial allocation of $895 million to the state of California between the two programs, or the two agencies, to help businesses access capital and recover from the pandemic, or whatever that may be with access to capital. So like I said, that's going to be split between the Small Business Finance Center and the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, which is at the Treasurer's Office. And between that, we have 3 existing credit programs. Like I said, our loan guarantee program, the capital access program at CPCFA, and the collateral support program at CPCFA. We are still awaiting any guidance on how this program is going to look, what the requirements are, how we can facilitate it. Applications are due to the U.S. Treasury. The first set of applications are due in December. So hopefully early next year, we will be able to see some of this funding. And again, this just gives us more opportunity to provide loan guarantees for small businesses and help them access capital. That is really kind of the end of my actual presentation. This is my contact information here if you have any questions. Once again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I love getting the word out about small businesses and how we can help them. So I can take any questions that anyone may have.
Well, thank you, Megan. I'm going to start with one general question. Since COVID, we're starting to see a lot of a lot of new programs that are being developed. And I think we saw a lot of programs in the last California state budget, including the venues program we talked a little bit about that was kind of in the budget. In the budget, we also saw enhancements, larger amounts for the California Relief Grant Program. So along those lines, is there anything that is being proposed, or what do you see that some of the changes on a longer term, maybe even a year or two ahead of time, that maybe might be being discussed at the state level?
So for us, we haven't really received, besides the allocations that we received in 2020 for COVID, we haven't really received any allocations from the state budget. And at this point, the state and the legislature is very aware of the federal funding that's coming in. So that's kind of been our focus on how we are going to utilize this $895 million that is coming to us. Like I said, we currently have the 3 programs available, and those are already existing programs running today. They ran through the previous SSBCI. We're also doing some research on adding potential new programs, one of which would be a venture capital program. We don't know for sure if we're going to go down that route yet, but we're doing research to see if it would be beneficial to small businesses.
Great. Well, there's a lot of good discussion that's been happening on future plans after we get past the pandemic. And addressing, the huge problem that we have throughout the state and really the country with accessing capital. Maybe not so hard the last 19 months, but for many businesses, but before that, pretty difficult or pretty challenging for a lot of smaller businesses. So it's great to hear that discussion is still happening. So if you have a question, go to the question box and throw it in. I see one on a farm-related question. And it's, let me find it here for you. And it deals with, does a small farm include any micro urban farms? Say about a 1/4 acre or less.
I am not sure, actually. I don't see why not, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I mentioned, that is facilitated through Valley Small Business Development Center, particularly is the one FDC that does most of our farm loan program. I don't see why a small farm, a 1/4 acre or less, would not be included.
What do you, when you underwrite those, or when Valley underwrites those, are there any key features they're looking at why they do that? I mean, they're obviously looking for profitability and repayment and things like that, like you do with a normal loan.
Yeah, they would be looking at, from what I understand, at all of the traditional things that a lender looks at when underwriting a loan. The only difference is that that loan is then guaranteed by USDA up to 90% of it. Okay. So I would imagine it's similar to any other bank loan.
Okay, so, well, let's see what else is in this Q&A box. Oh, sorry, you don't get to answer this one. But the good news is, after reading the question, I don't get to answer it either. But can you tell me if the California Relief Grant, the EIDL Supplemental and Advance are taxable grants? And is PPP taxable? If so, upon receipt or in the year forgiven? Thank you. Well, you're welcome. And this is a great question for next week when we have our CPA on. I can give you what I think the answer is, but I don't think you want what I think the answer is. I think you want to come back next week and get what the answer is. But if you were to hold a gun to my head and made me answer this question right now, which you wouldn't have to do, I would do it anyway based on what I think I know, which might be different than you hear next week. How's that for a disclaimer? So number one, PPP, it is not going to be taxable. And I'm not sure if it's in the year that in receipt, because that is something that was becoming an issue around the end of the year. If when you received your PPP or when it was forgiven, so many PPP loans were forgiven after the first of the year when they received them last year. So that is going to be a great question for next week. If you were to ask me on the California Relief Grant, my answer would say yes on the federal side of things and no on the state side of things. So this is, I guess, my quiz for next week. And also on EIDL supplemental and advance, the thing that I remember with the PPP was it had specific federal legislation that made them non-taxable. That happened very late in the year because we were discussing that in the entire year last year. So given the fact that I didn't see any special legislation that exempted from taxation, because technically forgiven debt from the IRS is considered legislation. Now these grants, that's going to be another story because it's not forgiven debt. So I've given you a great answer and a great reason to tune in next week. Okay. Seems like people are shy this week, not asking a lot of questions.
I like to think that that just means that my presentation was so full, no one has any questions.
No questions. Oh, I have a question. That cow behind you on the back of your wall, is that a Texas Longhorn or maybe a Longhorn steer? Or
it is a Scottish Highland cow.
Okay. I should have known that because we have those here in Kern County.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with them. I would love to come to Kern County and see them.
I know of an individual. I even know where it is. It's in the greater Edison area, not Southwest Edison, but in the greater Edison area somewhere on a ranch are those cows. I'm pretty sure. So yeah. if you want to come and see them, I'll see what I can do to make that happen.
I know it may be weird to have a favorite cow, but they are definitely my favorite cows.
And, you know, even though I know the difference between a steer and a bull and all those other things, every time I see a four-legged animal that I could eat or get dairy products from, I call it a cow.
Me too.
And we might have a follow-up question for you before we close this week.
Do I understand? Oh, sorry, go ahead. You can read it.
And we're getting back to the farm loan question. Do I understand correctly that the farm loans can be used for infrastructure?
No. Not what kind of infrastructure, I guess, is probably a better question.
Well, let me say irrigation. Let me go with irrigation supplies potentially. So since I don't have this specific infrastructure, let's just go with a irrigation system.
I believe so. I wasn't prepared to
answer
all of these questions on the farm loan program.
If we were to talk about the land, you would probably say no.
If what?
If I were to say land, you would say no.
I believe it's for like working capital purposes for farms. So infrastructure, that type of thing would be eligible, yeah.
And mostly for production farm, I would assume, rather than. So let's say I want a whole herd of those Scottish Highland cows. Can I get a farm loan?
Do you have a business purpose with them? Like
a startup, new startup business.
And are you going to just be taking care of them, or?
Well, I'm not going to charge admission from people from Sacramento to come and visit. But I hear that their meat quality is particularly excellent. I don't know if that's something you really want to go into with your favorite cow, but no, really, I was being serious for a moment there.
I am, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about our farm loan program. It's facilitated through our FDC. We just kind of oversee it. That's fine. I don't believe there's a requirement for it to be a production farm.
I don't know a lot either since the pandemic's been on, and we've been trying to do more on agricultural. So I believe I know the individual that asked that question. So I will reach out to them directly and I will get them an answer. Okay. And I will find out what they're doing.
And I can connect you to our FDC that handles our farm loans at Valley. And they would for sure be able to answer all of your questions.
That'd be fantastic. Okay, well, I think we're done here. No other questions?
No questions?
We're done. Easy question day. Boy, no hot seat for you today.
That's good.
So, okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for number 84 here. We'll be back next week, as you probably are aware of by now. Back for next week. And, for Megan Hodapp, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great week. See ya. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.